voltage. The ratio of this point, as it defines a rectangle, relative to the ideal rectangle of the ideal current times the ideal voltage is often called the fill factor. So when you hear people talk about the fill factor, it's how close this maximum point is to the theoretical operating point if you could get all the current at all the voltage for that device. Theoretically, the fill factor can't be higher than 86% because it's just a property of what an exponential looks like. Okay? Good. I've covered that. So, what's the name of the game? The name of the game is, let's go back. Name of the game is make really pure material. Because if it's really pure, then it can absorb light and all the carriers will move the right way and hardly any will move the wrong way. And in fact, the limit of moving the wrong way is given just by the radiative recombination limit. When all the carriers are emitting photons of light, you can't do any better than that because whatever they're absorbing is basically making them emit. The Einstein coefficients, so-called, of spontaneous absorption and emission are symmetrical and equal. And so when the quantum yield for emission is 100%, it's operating like an LED, and you can't do better than that. That means you've turned off every other loss mechanism. Okay? But no solar cell ever operates there because it's way too expensive to make material that pure and actually use them. And so when you have less purity, there are ways that those carriers will get lost. They can recombine from traps that are either in the space charge region or in the bulk or at the surface or typically some combination of them. The reason we distinguish them is because they actually have different statistics. If they're in the field region, the probability of an electron and a hole getting together is different statistically than if they're in this neutral region than if they're at the surface. So there are different radiative laws that tell you what the carrier recombination statistics are, but the fundamental concept is the same. You want to avoid traps. This is the reason solar cells cost so much money, because you have to purify that piece of silicon, which takes 200 microns to absorb the sunlight, sufficiently pure that these excited carriers can make it all the 200 microns to get to the interface to figure out left from right. If on the way they recombine, all they do is make heat. And that's why that piece of silicon that goes up on your roof is what I tell people, the purest material they will ever see or touch. It's pure to a part per billion orbit.